Chapter 23 of The Trail of the Hawk. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Mike Vendetti, MikeVendetti.com. Trail of the Hawk by Sinclair Lewis. Chapter 23. The Diary of Mr. Erickson continued. Editor. August 20, 1911, as before. Big Chicago meet over. They sure did show us a good time. Never saw better meet. One finals in duration today. Also am second in altitude, but nix on the altitude again. I'm pretty poor at it. I'm no Lincoln Beachey. Don't see how he breathes. His 11,578 feet was some climb. Tomorrow starts my biggest attempt by far. Biggest distance flight ever tried in America, and rather niftier than even the European circuit and British circuit that Belmont has won. To fly as follows: Chicago to St. Louis to Indianapolis to Columbus to Washington to Baltimore to Philadelphia to Atlantic City to New York. The New York Chronicle, in company with papers a long line, gives prize of $40,000. Ought to help bank account if win, in spite of big expenses to undergo. Now have $30,000 stowed away, and have sent mother $3,000. To fly against my old teacher, Monsieur Carmeau, and Tony Bean, Walter MacMonnies, Monsieur Beaufort, the Frenchman, Tad Warren, Billy Witzer, Chick Bernard, Aaron Solomons, and other good men. Special New York Chronicle reporter, fellow named Forbes, assigned to me, and he hangs around all the time, sort of embarrassing. Hurry spelled it right, I guess, but I'm getting used to the reporters. Martin Dockereau has an ambition. He said to me today, "Say, Hank, if you win the big race, you got to give me 5 plunks for my share, and then by gum, I'm going to buy 2 razor strops." "What for?" I said. "I bet there ain't anybody else in the world that owns 2 razor strops." Not much to say about banquet. Lots of speeches, good grub. What tickles me more than anything is my new flying garments. Not clothes, but garments, by heck. I'm going to be a regular little old aviator in the melodrama. I've been wearing plain suits and a cap, same good old cap, always squeegee on my head. But for the big race I've got riding breeches and puttees and a silk shirt and a tweed Norfolk jacket, and new leather coat and French helmet, with both felt and springs inside the leather, this last really valuable. The real stage aviator, that's me. Watch the photographers fall for it. I bet Tad Warren's Norfolk jacket is worth $10,000 a year to him. I pretend to Martin that I was quite serious about the clothes, the garments, I mean. I dolled myself all up last night and went swelling into my hangar, and anxiously asked Martin if he didn't like the get-up, and he nearly threw a fit. "Good Lord," he groans, "you look like an aviator on a Ladies' Home Journal cover. Guaranteed not to curse, swear, or chaw tobacco. What's become of that girl you was kissing last time I seen you on the cover?" August 25th. Not much time to write diary on race like this. It's just sawwood all the time or lose. Bad wind today. Sometimes the wind don't bother me when I'm flying, and sometimes, like today, it seems as though the one thing in the whole confounded world is the confounded wind, that roars in your ears and makes your eyes water, and sneaks down your collar to chill your spine, and goes scooting up your sleeves, unless you have gauntlets, and makes your ears sting. Roar, roar, roar. The wind's worse than the noisiest old cast-iron tin-can Verocity motor. You want to duck your head and get down out of it, and Lord, it tires you so. Aviation isn't all brilliant risks and daring dives and that kind of blankety-blank circus business, not by a long shot. It ain't lots of it's just sticking there and bucking the wind, like taxi driver speeding for a train in a storm. Tired tonight and mad. September 5th, New York. A win. Plenty smashes, but only got jarred. I beat out Beaufort by 8 hours and Aaron Solomons by nearly a day. Carmeau's machine hopelessly smashed in Columbus, but he is not hurt. But poor Tad Warren killed crossing Illinois. September 8th. Had no time to write about my reception here in New York till now. I've been worrying about poor Tad Warren's wife. A bunch of us got together and made up a purse for her. Nothing more pathetic than those poor little women that poke down the cocktails to keep excited, then go to pieces. I don't believe I was very decent to Tad, sitting here alone in a hotel room. It seems twice as lonely after the fuss and feathers these last few days. A fellow thinks of all the rotten things he ever did. Poor old Tad. Too late now to cheer him up. Too late. Wonder if they shouldn't have called off race when he was killed. Wish Istra wouldn't keep calling me up. Have I got to be rude to her? I'd like to be decent to her, but I can't stand the cocktail life. Lord, that time she danced, though. Poor Tad was... Oh, hell. To get back to the reception. It was pretty big. Parade of the Aero Club and Squadron A. Me and an open-faced hack, feeling like a boob while 11 billion people cheered. Then reception by Mayor, me delivering letter from Mayor to Chicago, which I had cutely sneaked out in Chicago and mailed to myself here. New York general delivery, so I couldn't lose it on the way. Then biggest dinner I've ever seen. Must have been 1,000 there at the Astor, me very natty in a new dress suit. Hey, Bo, I fooled them. It was ready-made and cost me just $37.50 and fitted like my skin. Mayor, presidents of boroughs of New York, district attorney, vice president of U.S., lieutenant governor of New York, 5 or 6 senators, chief of ordnance, USA, Arctic explorers, and hundreds like that. But most of all Forrest Haviland, whom I got them to stick right up there near me. Speeches mostly about me. I nearly rubbed the silver off my flossy new cigarette case, keeping from looking foolish while they were telling about me and the future of aviation and all them interesting subjects. Forrest and I sneaked off from the reporters next afternoon. Had a quiet dinner down in Chinatown. We have a bully plan, if we can make it, and if he can get leave, we will explore the headwaters of the Amazon with a 2-passenger Curtiss flying boat, maybe next year. Now the reception fans have done their darndest, and all the excitement is over, including the shouting, and I'm starting for Newport to hold a little private meet of my own, backed by Thomas J. Watersell, the steel magnate, and by tomorrow night New York will forget me. I realized that after the big dinner. I got on the subway at Times Square, jumped quick into the car just as the doors were closing, and the guard yapped at me, "What are you trying to do, Billy? Kill yourself?" He wasn't spending much time thinking about famous Hawk Ericson, and I got to thinking how comfortable New York will manage to go on being when they no longer read in the morning paper whether I dined with the governor or with Martin Dockrill at Bazoo Junction depot lunch counter. They forget us quick, and already there's a new generation of aviators. Some of the old giants are gone, poor Mossyant and Hoxsey and Johnstone and the rest killed, and there's coming along a bunch of youngsters that can fly enough to grab the glory, and they spread out the glory pretty thin. They go as old fellows, except Beachy, a few better on aerial acrobatics, and that's what the dear old people like. For a socialist, I certainly do despise a people's taste. I won't do any flip-flops in the air, no matter what the country fair managers write me. Somehow I'd just as soon be alive and exploring the Amazon with old Forrest as dead after brilliant feats of fearless daring. Go to it, kids. Good luck. Only test your supporting wires, and don't try to rival Lincoln Beachy. He's a genius. Glad got a secretary for a couple days to handle all the mail. Hundreds of begging letters and mash notes from girls since I won the big prize. Makes me feel funny. One nice thing out of the mail, letter from the Turk, Jack Terry, that I haven't seen since Plato. He didn't graduate, his old man died, and he is assistant manager of quite a good-sized fisheries out in Oregon. Glad to hear from him again. Funny, I haven't thought of him for a year. I feel lonely and melancholy tonight in spite of all I do to cheer up. Let up after reception, etc. I suppose I feel like calling up Istra after all, but mustn't. I ought to hit the hay, but couldn't sleep. Poor Tad Warren. The following words appear at the bottom of a page in a faint, fine handwriting, unlike Mr. Erickson's usual scrawl. The editor. Whatever spirits there be of the present world or the future, take this prayer from a plain man who knows little of monism or Trinity or Logos, and give to Tad another chance as a child who never grew up. September 11. Off to Kokomo to fly for Farmers Alliance. Easy meet here, Newport, Rhode Island. Yesterday just straight flying and passenger carrying. Dandy party given for me after it by Thomas J. Watersell, the steel man. Have read of such parties. Bird party in a garden. Watersell has many acres in his place and a big house with a wonderful brick terrace and more darn convenient things than I ever saw before. Breakfast room out on the terrace and swimming pool, and little gardens and one outside of each guest room. Rooms all have private doors. House is mission style, built around patio. All the Newport swells came to party dressed as birds, and I had to dress as a hawk. They had the costume all ready. Wonder how they got my measurements. Girls in the dance of the birds. Much silk stockings, very pretty. At end of dance they were all surrounding me in semicircle. I stood out on lawn beside Mrs. Watersell, and they bowed low to me, fluttering their silk wings and flashing out many-colored electric globes concealed in wings, and looked like hundreds of rainbow-colored fireflies in the darkness. Just then the big lights were turned on again, and they let loose hundreds of all kinds of birds, and they flew up all around me, surprised me to death. Then for grub, best sandwiches I ever ate. Felt much flattered by it all. Somehow did not feel so foolish as at banquets and speeches. After the party was all over, quite late, I went with Watersell for a swim in his private pool. Most remarkable thing I ever saw. He said everybody has Roman baths and Pompeii baths, and he was going to go them one better, so he has a Egyptian bath. The pool itself like the inside of an ancient temple, long vista of great big green columns and a big idol at the end. And the pool all in green marble, with lights underneath, the water in along the columns, and the water itself just heat of air, so you can't tell where the water leaves off and the air above it begins hardly. Feel as though you were swimming in air through a green twilight. Darndest sensation ever felt, and the idol and columns sort of awe you. I enjoyed the swim and the room they gave me, but I had lost my toothbrush, and that kind of spoiled the end of the party. I noticed Watersell only half introduced his pretty daughter to me. They like me as a lion, and yet they seem to like me personally well enough, too. If I didn't have old Martin trailing along and smoking his corncob pipe and saying what he thinks, I'd die of loneliness, sometimes on the hike from meet to meet. Other times have jolly parties, but I'd like to sit down with the Cowleses and play poker and not have to explain who I am. Funny. Never used to feel lonely when I was bumming around on freights and so on, not paying any special attention to anybody. October 23rd. I wonder how far I'll ever get as an aviator. The newspapers all praise me as a hero. Hero, hell. I'm a pretty steady flyer, but so would plenty of chauffeurs be. This hero business is mostly bunk. It was mostly chances my starting to fly at all. Don't suppose that it's all accident to become a great flyer as Garros or Verdines or Beachley. But I'm never going to be a Garros, I guess, like the man that can jump 12 feet but never can get himself to go any further. December 1st. Carmel killed yesterday, flying at San Antone. Motor backfire, machine caught fire, burned him to death in the air. He was the best teacher I could have had, patient and wise. I can't write about him, and I can't get this insane question out of my mind. Was his beard burned? I remember just how it looked. Didn't think of that when all the time I ought to remember how clever and darn decent he was. Carmel will never show me new stunts again. And Ely killed in October. Cromwell Dixon gone. The plucky youngster. Professor Montgomery. Newport. Todd Shriver, whom Martin Dickerel and Hank Odell liked so much. And many others, all dead, like Moisant. I don't think I take any undue risks, but it makes me stop and think. And Hank Odell with a busted shoulder. Captain Paul Beck once told me he believed it was mostly carelessness, these accidents, and he certainly is a good observer, but when I think of a careful constructor like Newport, punk money I'm making. Thank heaven there will be one more good year of the game, 1912, but I don't know about 1913. Looks like the exhibition game would blow up then. Nearly everybody that wants to has seen an aeroplane fly once now, and that's about all they want. So goodbye aviation, except for military use and flying boats for sportsmen. At least goodbye during a slump of several years. Hope to Thunder Forest and I will be able to make our South American hike. even if it costs every cent I have. That will be something like it, seeing new country, instead of scrapping with fair managers about money. December 22nd. Hooray! Christmas time at sea. Quite excited to smell the oceans again and go rolling down the narrow gangways between the white stateroom doors. Off for a month's flying in Brazil and Argentine, with Tony Bean. We'll look up data for coming exploration of Amazon headwaters. Martin Dockerill like a regular Beau Brummel in new white flannels, parading the deck, making eyes at pretty greaser girls. It's good to be going. February 22nd, 1912. George Washington's birthday. He'd have busted that no-lie proviso if he'd ever advertised an aero meet. Start a flight New Orleans to St. Louis. Looks like really big times, old-fashioned jubilees all along the road, and lots of prizes. Though take a chance, only measly little $2,500 prize guaranteed, but vague promises of winnings at towns all along, where stop for short exhibitions. Each of contestants has to fly at scheduled towns for percentage of gate receipts. February 23rd. What a rotten flight today. Small crowd out to see me off, no sooner up than trouble with plugs. Wanted to land, but nothing but bayous, rice fields, cane brakes, and marshes. Farmer shot at my machine. Soon motor stopped on me and had to come down a whopping on a small plowed field. Smashed landing gear, got an awful char. Nothing serious, though. It was 2 hours before a local blacksmith and I repaired chassis and cleaned plugs. Start off after coaching 3 scared darkies to hold the tail while the blacksmith spun the propeller. He would give it a couple of bats, then dodge out of the way too soon, while I sat there and tried not to look mad, which by gum I was plenty mad. Landed in this bum town called fourth in the race, and found sweet refuge in the Chills and Fever Hotel. Wish I was back in New Orleans. Cheer up. Having others ahead of me in the race just adds a little zip to it. Watch me tomorrow. And I'm not the only hard luck artist. Aaron Solomon's busted propeller and nearly got killed. Later. Cable. Tony Bean is dead. Killed flying. My God, Tony, impossible to think of him as dead. Just a few days ago we were flying together and calling on senoritas, and he playing the fiddle and laughing. Always so polite. Like he used to fiddle us into good nature when we got discouraged at Bagby School. Seems like it was just a couple of minutes ago we drove his big car through Avenida de Mayo, and everybody cheered him. He was hero of Buenos Aires, yet he treated me as the big chief. Cablegram forwarded from New Orleans dated yesterday. Pino killed. Fell 200 feet. And tomorrow I'll have to be out and jolly the rustic meet managers again. Want to go off someplace and be quiet and think. Wish I could get away. Be off to South America with Forrest. February 24th. Rotten luck continues. Back in same town again. Got up yesterday and motor misfired. Had to make quick landing in a bayou and haul out machine myself, aided by scared kids. Got back here and found gasoline pipe fouled, small piece of tin stuck in it. Martin feels as bad as I do at Tony's death, though he doesn't say much of anything. Gosh, that Tony's such a nice little cuss. About all he said. But he looked white around the gills. February 25th. Another man has dropped out. I am third, but still last in the race. Race fever got me today. I didn't care for anything but winning, got off to a good start, then took chances. Machine wobbled like a board in the surf. Am having some funny kind of chicken creole, I guess it is for lunch. Writing this in hotel dining room. Later. Passed Aaron Solomon's, am now second in the race. Landed here just 3 hours behind Walter McMonnies. 3 letters forwarded here from Forrest. He is flying daily at Army Aviation Camp. Also from Gertie Cowles. She and her mother are in Minneapolis, attending a week of Grand Opera. Also, to my surprise, short note from Jack Ryan, the Grouch, saying he has given up flying and gone back into motor business. There won't be much more than money to pay expenses on this trip. Tomorrow I'll show them some real flying. Later. Telegram from St. Louis newspaper. Sweet business. Says that promoters of race have not kept promises to remove time limit as they promised. Doubt if either Walter McMonnies or I can finish in time set. February 26th. Bad luck continues, but made fast flight after 2 forced descents. One of them had to make difficult landing, plane down on railroad track, avoiding telegraph wires, and get machine off track as could hear train coming. Awful job. Nerves not very good. Once, when up at 200 feet height, from which Tony Bean fell, I saw his face, right in air, in front of me, and jumped so I jerked the stuffings out of control wires. March 15th. Just got out of hospital after 3 weeks there, broken legs still in splints. Glad Walter McM got through in time limit, got prize. Too weak and shaky to write much. Shoulder still hurts. March 18th. How I came to fall that broke my leg 3 weeks ago. Was flying over rough country when bad gust came through hill defile. Wing crumpled, up at 400 feet. Machine plunged forward, then sideways. Gosh, I thought I'm gone, but will live as long as I can, even a few seconds more, and kept working with elevator, trying to right her even a little. Ground coming up fast. Must have jumped, I think. Landed in marsh that saved my life, but woke up at doctor's house, leg busted and shoulder bad, etc. Machine shot to pieces. But Martin Duckerill has it pretty well repaired. He and the doc and I play poker every day. Martin always wins with his doggone funeral face, no matter though he has an ace full. March 24th. Leg all right, pretty nearly. Rigged up steering bars so I can work it with one foot. Flew a mile today, went not badly. Hope to fly to Springfield, Illinois next week. Will be able to make Brazil trip with Forrest Haviland all right. The dear old boy has been writing me every day while I've been on the bum. Newspapers have made a lot of my flying so soon again. Several engagements, and now things look bright again. Reading lots and chipper as can be. March 25th. Forrest Haviland's dead. He was killed today. March 27th. Disposed of monoplane by telegraph. Garton Martin job with Sunset Aviation Company. March 28th. Started for Europe. May 8th. Paris. Forrest and I would have met today in New York to perfect plans for a Brazil trip. May 10th. I'm still trying to answer a letter from Forrest's father. Can't seem to make it go right. If I could have seen Forrest again. But maybe they were right. Holding funeral before I could get there. Captain Farber says Forrest was terribly crushed, falling from 1,700 feet. And I wish I didn't keep thinking of plans of our Brazil trip, then remembering that we won't make it after all. I don't think I will fly till fall anyway, though I feel stronger now after rest in England. Titherton has beautiful place in Devonshire. England seems to stick to biplane. Can't make them see monoplane. Don't think I shall fly before fall. Today I would have been with Forrest Haviland in New York. I think he could have got leave for Brazil trip. We would taken Martin. Tony promised to meet us in Rio. I like France, but can't get used to language. Keep starting to speak Spanish. Maybe I'll fly here in France, but certainly not for some time. Though massage has fixed me all okay. Am studying French. Maybe shall bicycle through France. Memo. Write to Colonel Haviland when I can. Must when I can. End of chapter 23. End of part 2.